So, can I start with something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You may.
First and foremost, if you haven't seen the movie, now would be the time to maybe hit pause, go watch the movie, and come back to this episode. But we're going to be talking about the movie Don't Look Up with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, and there are going to be
Meryl
plenty of
Streep.
spoilers.
Yeah.
What did you call her?
Meryl Streep.
I thought you said Mineral Streep.
Meryl Streep. No,
Yes,
Meryl
Streep, Jonah Hill, yes. So we're talking about Don't Look Up today.
Yes. We need to talk about Jonah Hill at some point, okay?
Well, here's what I want to start with, and I'm actually going to put this at the front of the episode as well. The tramp stamp.
Okay.
Did you see the tramp stamp?
Maybe?
Oh my gosh, I was cracking up. Meryl Streep.
Okay, right. Okay,
At
yes.
the very end of the movie.
Oh yes! The post-credits. Don't shut the movie off, guys. People, humans, don't shut it off until the credits roll, because there's a little...
Welcome to the 42 Podcast, where we discuss life together, looking for answers to life, the universe, and, well, everything else. Here are your hosts, Rob and Linsey.
Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, Linsey. You know, I haven't said this for a while.
Uh-oh.
You're an evil morning person.
I am. I've had a fantastic morning. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to be clear, what time did you wake up?
I woke up late this morning. I woke up without my alarm at 5:30. It was 5 o'clock. My alarm was set for 5:30. I woke up at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I woke up 45 minutes ago, and then stared into the depths of my espresso maker as it slowly churned out my coffee, pondering the darkness in my soul, and if I was really willing to talk to a morning person.
I know. Yeah. It gives me literal anxiety when my routine is like, when I can't get up before everybody else and do what I want to do with my coffee and my books and my journal, and I love my routine. It's like my favorite.
During the school week, my first alarm goes off at 5:50. I'm paranoid, so I've got like 20 alarms set when I know I have to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And it goes off, and my son and I wake up because he has to be out the door before 7 o'clock on the bus, which is just way too early for a 12-year-old. That's
yeah.
I'm sorry, schools. That's almost mean and cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah.
But he and I are most definitely not morning persons, and just, glaring at each other around the house of, it's morning, it's dark. This is sleeping time, not waking time.
Yeah. Yeah, my husband feels the same.
Yeah. But I have a whole coffee routine. It's more ritual, I think, that I go through in the morning. So I want to ask, what's your coffee routine or ritual?
Well, we spend a lot of money on coffee because there's 6 of us. No, there's not 6 of us. There's 3 adults, and I have 2 cups. Leanne has 2 cups. Colby has 1.5 cups. And that, we go through a whole pot of coffee, and then we might make coffee later in the day. I would love to spend tons of money on good coffee, but we would be spending like $30 a week on coffee or $20 a week on coffee. So we usually do the Green Mountain coffee is kind of, it's good, it's not too cheap, and I like the dark magic. So I just drink it black. I drink it black. I started when I was dieting, and I just, why ever reacclimate myself to sugar in my coffee? It's just seems like not a good idea. So, I don't know. That's my routine. And then I'll have a cup of coffee in the afternoon. Or I might make a K-cup. Actually, so we've been doing the K-cup thing, too, because it doesn't make sense to make a whole pot of coffee or, 6 cups of coffee when 1 cup's probably okay. So, I just, we've been experimenting on that. Different, what cheap coffee is good. So we've been experimenting and kind of, anyway, I'm boring. I am being boring. I apologize.
No, it's not boring. It's always interesting to see how people drink coffee. It really is. And, the sarcastic me wants to look at you and say you're a monster for adding anything to your coffee.
But I don't. I don't add anything to my coffee.
You don't anymore.
Yeah, well, I used to. But you used to, too. You used to, too. And you probably drank it sweeter than I ever did.
I was 12 years old.
I've never had sweet coffee.
I was 12 years old. That does not count.
I was 12. I was 12 when I started drinking coffee, but I drink it like my dad. And my dad would put in a teaspoon and a little bit of sugar. And my dad, bless the man. Oh, you've met my dad.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started off where I wasn't allowed to drink it. Have I told the story? I wasn't allowed to drink coffee. So I would sneak sips I would go get him a second cup. So what's your coffee routine?
It depends on what the end result of my day is. If I'm home working, I will do my stovetop espresso maker in the morning. And then I've just added this to the routine where we have a K-cup maker now as well. When my coffee pot broke, my daughter was home from school. She had the day off. So she went with me to Walmart as I was looking for a new coffee maker. And they had one of those combination coffee pot K-cup things.
Yeah, I have one of those.
But It was pre-Christmas, post-Black Friday, so they had it marked down by about 50%.
Nice.
So it was still more than I like to spend on a coffee pot, but a lot less. And if we have a K-cup maker, my wife likes fancy lattes and things like that, and my kids will like hot chocolate and the teas that we can do. So I got that. So I'll do the espresso maker, and then when I'm out of that cup, I'll do a quick K-cup. I don't like buying the K-cups, so I have my own reusable K-cups that I do my coffee in particular ways, and it's not the best way to make coffee, but it's not bad. It's quick.
Yeah.
And if I'm home for the day, then I turn the coffee pot on and have a pot of decaf. But the K-cup and the espresso are my only caffeine for the day. Everything else I stick to decaf after. I don't know. The fun part for me, the part that is kind of where I really start waking up, is actually when I go to make the coffee. I get whole bean everything. I grind it myself, finding that perfect grind, getting it set in each of the makers, and just, I don't know, there's a comfort to that ritual.
I make my coffee the night before, and I don't grind my own beans unless that's the cheap stuff. I mean, you know how you find whole bean Starbucks and it's cheaper because it's whole bean? I'll buy that. And I'll grind a bunch of it, but I want it all, I want it ready for me to go when I get up, because every stinking second is precious in the morning. So.
Yes, every second is precious, but I like just kind of having that routine and ritual of grinding the beans, of creating and trying to craft what will be that perfect cup. I don't know. It's a whole thing for me.
Do you hold your pinky out? Do you hold your pinky out when you drink your coffee?
I don't want to talk about it. I do find myself doing it. I was like, where in the world did I pick that up? Why is my pinky up? The only thought I have on that is that has to come from the years of oppression of the Scots from the English, and it's just genetic memory as to why my pinky goes up. That's my assumption. But yeah, it is weird, and when I catch myself doing it, I'm like, nope. So, but that also is entirely dependent on the coffee cup. So have you ever done a stovetop espresso? Is that a thing you've ever tried?
I've done a French press. I like the French press coffee. I like that taste a lot. But I've never done espresso, and I don't care about it, really. I don't think I've ever had espresso. Like, I've gone to Dunkin' Donuts and been like, can I have a pump of turbo? They call it turbo, but it's really espresso, right? Technically.
It's like cold espresso.
I liked it.
No.
It's not cold. No, it's hot.
No.
Well, I had it hot. I wouldn't buy espresso.
Are there any... Well, yeah, if you're just getting used to the taste of black coffee, maybe not...
I'm not just getting used to the taste of black coffee. I've been drinking black coffee for probably 2 years now.
Are there any artesian coffee shops near you?
No.
Okay.
That's hilarious. No.
Hey,
no, I live so far out in the sticks. The closest thing we have is Dunkin' Donuts. They serve hot coffee there. And then there's a Starbucks in North Conway, 45 minutes away. Maybe I shouldn't be so specific, but North Conway is like 45 minutes that way.
I live 45 minutes from Harrisburg, Lancaster, and Philadelphia. So, there. Specifics.
There you go.
But no, I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. And I have an artesian coffee shop just in town from where I live.
Wow.
I can walk to it. That's part of the reason I ask. But next time next time you go to visit your family, or just, even if it is last hope, desperate Starbucks, go and get them to do just a good shot of espresso for you. Get whatever your normal drink would is your treat to yourself, but try just like a regular espresso. It's really good.
Cool. Okay. I will do that.
Yeah. Anyway, we definitely went off on this one. We were just going to mention coffee habits, but we were talking about something else today.
We are.
Yeah. So, can I start with something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You may.
First and foremost, if you haven't seen the movie, now would be the time to maybe hit pause, go watch the movie, and come back to this episode. But we're going to be talking about the movie Don't Look Up with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, and there are going to be plenty of spoilers.
Yeah.
What did you call her?
This Meryl Streep.
I thought you said Mineral Streep.
Meryl Streep. No,
yes,
Meryl
Streep, Jonah Hill, yes. So we're talking about Don't Look Up today.
Yes, we need to talk about Jonah Hill at some point, okay?
Well, here's what I want to start with, and I'm actually going to put this at the front of the episode as well. The tramp stamp.
Okay.
Did you see the tramp stamp?
Maybe?
Oh my gosh, I was cracking up. Meryl Streep.
Okay, right. Okay, yes.
The very end of the movie.
Oh yes! The post-credits. Don't shut the movie off, guys. People, humans, don't shut it off until the credits roll, because there's a little... a treat. There's a treat.
There's a little feeling of vindication.
Comeuppance.
Yes, that scene, though, when Meryl Streep is walking away, and you see a tramp stamp on her back. I love Meryl Streep. Like, when she's in a movie, I want to know, because there's normally some kind of prestige that I feel is brought to that movie by Meryl Streep.
Yes.
And for me, watching her in this was entirely... Are we sure that's her?
Oh, yes.
Like, I kept going back to Devil Wears Prada, and I was like, this is like the entire opposite of who she was in Devil Wears Prada. And I don't hate it, but it just felt so weird. And then that final little flourish at the end with the tramp stamp, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
She played that character so perfectly.
Yes.
And I mean, I hated that character, but yeah. So the tramp stamp, I just found that as a hilarious little flourish at the end.
Like, of course she would.
Well, of course that character would. Yes, of course. That makes entire... It's almost like if a millennial was to be president. The caricatures of millennials. How about that?
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
I found it super... Okay, I know I tend to go too fast when we're talking about things. But, Mark Rylance, who played Peter Isherwell, who was so fun. I just loved listening to him talk because he was so funny. He's the guy that was like sort of the Steve Jobs or the Bill Gates kind of character, the business owner. He owned Bash. I loved the fact that when he said jump, President Orlean was like, how high? That was so fascinating.
All right, so you're shooting us way ahead. Why don't we...
See, I hate that I do that. I don't know how to talk about things. You go ahead. Well, you talk.
See, what you're doing
Ask
is
questions.
What you're doing is you're shooting us right into the central point, the central area of fear that is that whole movie, or at least from my perspective.
I'm sorry. All right, take that out. Let's rewind.
Oh, we're not taking that out. Thing. That's part of our discussion.
It's part of my... That's what I do, I guess.
But you're right in being excited about that character, because that character, and again, that moment, that setup, is the whole crux of what that movie is about. So, but all right, let's get into this. Let's just set the foundations. And again, we're going into spoilers, so if you haven't watched it, please go watch it. If you don't intend to watch it, or you just need that overview, because I'll admit, I lost a night of sleep over this movie. Then fine. Listen in. Yeah, I literally lost a night of sleep over this. We'll talk about it, because you were jumping right into where and why, and we'll get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright, so... First and foremost, how did you feel about Leonardo DiCaprio? Wow. Leonardo DiCaprio.
He did so good, and I couldn't help, just in the back of my mind, hearing his other characters that he's played. You know, characters that have gravity, or... He's really good. He was really good at the way he talked, his sort of way he kind of caved in on himself, and the way he spoke. He's like, oh, really? Oh, that's so swell. That's swell. I love the way he talked. I loved his expressions. I loved his body language. I loved how passionate he was. I loved how, is diminutive the right word?
Yeah.
As diminutive as he was, how expressive he was at other times, and he was mostly saying the F word when he was expressive. But I loved it. I thought the language really was completely appropriate in this movie. He was fantastic. I loved him. And I love the part where he's like, oh, I just got Mark Hamill to sign my poster of Star Wars. I bet that was improvised. A lot of this movie was improvised, you know. I watched an interview. Like, he said 12% of the movie was probably total improvised. And you can tell all the stuff Jonah Hill said was probably improvised.
Oh, that makes sense.
And a lot of... Oh my gosh. Oh, he gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, well, we'll get to Jonah Hill too. But the thing I loved with Leonardo DiCaprio is, see, you say you saw every role he's played. I saw something entirely different out of him, because he wasn't playing the character that is the hero.
What I said.
Well, paraphrasing.
That's what I said was I was comparing him to other characters that he's played and how different it was. How different he was compared to the other characters he's played.
You're right. And it was entirely different.
Sometimes.
Oh, you're on this podcast too. Sorry. All right, I'm done being a jerk. But no, you're right. I did miss that. But he did play an incredible, not normal to him character. That was, well, yeah, it was just incredible. He plays a middle-aged white guy who is trying to navigate career and stress and anxiety and family, and holy crap, the world is ending. And I found out why.
Yeah.
And I love how they walk through all of that with him, from, you know, him finding, him being famous, and then the end. But we'll get to the end. So Leonardo DiCaprio is phenomenal in the movie. Jennifer Lawrence?
I always loved Jennifer Lawrence. She was really good. And Really funny. She was really funny. I really liked her character. I liked the fact that I don't know. Yeah, I liked her. She did great. She was great. Acting, yeah, I don't know what else to say. She did really good, though. I enjoyed her. I always enjoy her.
I think she helped because she was the character who was always horrified by what was going on.
She didn't fall under the spell.
Right. And I think that helped me because as I was watching the movie, I was always horrified by what was going on. Always.
Yeah. She was us.
Yeah,
Except a lot
effectively.
smarter.
That was our... I think that was what she was doing, is that was her inviting us into the emotion of the moments and to be horrified with her. Go ahead.
So, something that I really liked about this movie was the way they put it together. Throughout the entire movie, they would have what you'd call B-roll, you know, like in the middle of an intense scene, there'd be a shot of like ants carrying leaves into their hole, or a hippo and his baby, or like somebody in the Amazon, like a tribe person rowing down the river, and then it would cut back to the scene. Or they would have in the middle of the scene, somebody would be, I remember in particular, Jennifer Lawrence yelling, and it would cut in the middle of her yelling to something quiet. And it's like, it was such a beautiful movie to watch. I really liked what they did there.
Them interspersing those moments, what did that do for you specifically?
To me, it said a couple things. One thing it said was, as totally effed up as the world, as our culture and society is, you've got the simplicity of just nature going on without it. Something's happening in the world apart from your cell phone, apart from the drama, apart from the effed upness of society, and its simplicity, and it's beautiful and calm and serene and needs to be protected.
What it does is it draws you to a global scale, because it's easy. Do you remember the 90s, early 2000s, all of the, oh no, the meteorite is going to strike the Earth, we must send the last-ditch hope of
yes.
these ragtag astronauts to save us all, okay?
And this movie was, in a way, a parody of those movies.
It was.
And it refers to those movies almost explicitly with some of the shots they did of the people in the dark with the light on them and the American flags and the sound, and everything was all like, it's trying to create the same movie. And it reminded me of Independence Day as well. That scene where Bill Pullman does that speech, and it's like, it's the same filming, same way they shot the movie. And the sound even was like that too.
But those movies, they focus on the story that is, ragtag team, save the world, yay!
Washington always needs a hero.
Yeah. But what they never focus on in those movies is that global scale. It's zooming in to the micro, because it's saying, look, here's a story. Oh yeah, and Earth gets saved. Yay.
Yeah.
What Don't Look Up does in interspersing those scenes is it takes you to a global scale. Because life is right there. Life is active and moving and alive. And you see it. And so you have these calm moments that in any other kind of movie you would expect that calming, nature guy voiceover of, and the ants are building this to prepare themselves for the winter or something like that, okay?
Yeah,
Instead, what you have is the horror that is happening in the movie. So something like Jennifer Lawrence screaming, or someone explaining how this comet is going to destroy the Earth, combined with what is that kind of gut feel of, oh, this should be peaceful. And there's a tension and a contradiction that they're existing those scenes in.
Yeah, look what we're messing up. Look what we're doing.
And that's part of the beauty of what that movie does, and it's why it hits you so hard when you watch it and you're just like, ooh, uncomfortable.
And it's interesting too that at the end of the movie it does the same thing. You pull into the micro of like the frozen cow drifting by in outer space, and the cell phone with "Yay, your diet, you've finished your diet" or something or whatever.
Well, do you remember the importance of that?
Yes. Yeah.
What was the importance of the diet?
The countdown. It was the countdown.
It's what she used as a countdown. And part of that was even, does it matter what I eat? Because we're all going to die.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and that end scene, I have to admit, that was incredibly disturbing.
It was very hard to watch. It was very hard to watch. Tsunamis freak me out. I mean, I know what you're talking about, but pulling in a little, tsunamis freak me out. And that shot where the comet lands in the Pacific and you see that, like, freaking mile-high tsunami. It just took my breath away. And all the devastation.
Right. So you brought in something that I think is a neat little... Let's talk about it.
I do that, sorry.
No. So, are tsunamis like the natural disaster that gets to you?
Yeah.
That's the one that you're like, no, I don't think no.
It's the most terrifying. It's the most, to me, inescapable, I guess. Like, you're probably not gonna live. You're probably gonna die. I don't know why. It just gets me. Water gets me. I think water freaks me out. I like it. I love swimming. I love the ocean. I love it. And it terrifies me at the same time. And plus, like, all the water, the force of the water. So, like, blunt force trauma, plus all the carnage in the water, all the sharp things that it can cut your legs off and you know, just impale you and crush you, and that's all terrifying. And then the helplessness of the situation. If you're there, if you're on that coast, sorry, you're dead. Ugh! It breaks my heart. I've watched too much footage of tsunamis. I got a little obsessed about tsunamis.
It's interesting because there's almost always like a natural disaster or this unstoppable force of nature that is always, and I'm sorry if I'm asking this and causing you to think of it, but there...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's true. Like, I know someone who there's a fear of an asteroid or comet hitting the Earth and the unstoppability of that. I have, and this one has developed only kind of recently. Like, I don't think there was ever like a natural, well, no, tornadoes when I was a kid, but like sinkholes now as an adult mess with me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that a couple years ago we had, it was like 3 or 4 sinkholes appear in the church parking lot. And these weren't like, they're little sinkholes. These were car swallower sinkholes. So, I have to admit, even to this day, when I'm out in the church parking lot, I'm like, is that a sinkhole? Is that a sinkhole?
Yeah.
I'll have to send you I flew my drone into the one. I mean, it
You
was
did?
Oh, yeah, it was a big sinkhole.
How far down was it?
I think it got to about 25 feet.
Wow.
Like I said, this was a car swallower sinkhole. And I live in an area...
mines where you live? Mining and stuff under there?
No, not...
It's just a weird thing?
It's part of the region that I live in. It's the limestone underneath. There are... when we had the sinkholes in the church, I started looking up this area and the geology of it, and it's the acidic rain and the limestone underneath, and it just kind of eats away at and causes caverns. But there are sinkholes that pop up all over the place around here.
Yeah.
And it just, it messes with me. I mean, there was one that popped up at my kid's school, their elementary school, And that's like 2 blocks over from where I live, and it's just, no, not cool with this stuff.
Yeah.
That messes with me. And I think there's always a degree of natural disaster that people connect with and have a fear because of that unstoppability of it. There is nothing I can do to stop, insert, whatever. And that's even part of what this movie plays on, where it's, what can we do to stop?
That's what the movie doesn't answer.
But it does.
That's what the movie doesn't help you with. Well, in the movie, fictionally, yeah, it's like we could blow it up.
But do they?
Yeah, but no, they don't, but they could. In interviews, they say, this is an allegory for global warming. That's what they say.
It's so much
I think
more
it speaks to a lot of different... It is. I mean, it speaks to a lot of different things about our culture. The movie freaks you out, but doesn't give you an answer. That's all. I'm freaked out. I'm going to do research. I'm going to read probably 12 books about global warming now. But what do we do now? Like, okay, anyway. But that's not what I'm talking about.
The answer to global warming is, from our perspective, is that we, the individuals, we try to live as green a life as we can. But you can't put life on hold, but we can try.
There's a lot of buts there.
Well, yeah, and we can't put life on hold. You know, I need a gallon of milk tomorrow. I can't just not get a gallon of milk because it's in a gallon-sized plastic jug. You know, my kids need that to grow. They need that for their bones. So then what I do is we recycle those jugs. We do what we can to do a sustainability effort as a family. But I'm not going to fix global warming. 1 million of us, 10 million of us, yeah, maybe. Did you ever watch... I know it's not the movie we're talking about, but it seems to be the spot we're in. Did you ever watch the movie Core with Aaron Eckhart?
I liked it, yes.
I liked it too. I think it was a drastically underrated movie. Aaron Eckhart, Stanley Tucci.
Yes, Stanley. Hilary Swank.
Hilary Swank. A few other people I can't remember. But there's a scene in Core, and I always think of this, and I always come back to this scene, because it's the right way to think.
This before.
Yes.
Yeah, you've said this quote before.
And I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to keep saying it. It's the right way to think of solving global issues. When Aaron Eckhart's character is in the compartment with the Frenchman who's controlling all the nuclear bombs as they're trying to restart the Earth, Aaron Eckhart is having a meltdown because he's looking at that global perspective. How do you save 7 billion lives? How do you save 7 billion people? And you can't. And the Frenchman's perspective is, oh, hi, kid. But the Frenchman says to Aaron Eckhart's character, I'm not here to save the world. I'm here to save my wife and daughters.
Yeah.
Bringing it to the perspective of what I'm fighting for isn't the whole world. It's just my family.
My people. Yeah.
And that's just it. If we allow ourselves to look and say, I'm going to do what's best and try and balance the family side of things, I think we'll get more out of that than save the world. Because when we look and we say, save the world, save the world, save the world, how much pressure does that put on it?
Right.
Because the world is complex and big. You know, even in ministry stuff, what I always look at is I can't save the world or the state. I can only save and work with the community I'm in.
Yeah.
And if that community expands, great. If that community shrinks, great. But I can deal with the community.
Yeah.
If my perspective gets too big, I'm going to hamstring myself.
Yeah.
Either because I will sell out what is the gospel and go to something that is too attractive and not preaching and teaching, or I will burn myself out.
Yeah.
So, yes, it is an allegory for climate change, what's going on, and I think the answer to that is just that the best we can do is try and be balanced as individuals and families and try to be green as best as we can.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at putting in a garden this summer, or this spring, not summer.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that I'm looking at that I want to do because they're practices we've gone away from, but I think they're better to do, especially with gardening, like rainwater collection.
Yeah.
I want to get a 55-gallon drum, and I want to start saving the rainwater from the roof to water my garden.
Mm-hmm.
Silly little things, but, again, they add up, little bits.
Yeah.
My perspective, my little soapbox moment. Back to the movie.
Yeah.
Because we've kind of hit on different areas, but we need to get on who is the villain of the movie.
Well, I think corporations.
And this is your moment, your character, the bit that you wanted to jump ahead to.
Yeah, well, Mark Rylance, actually, Jonah Hill's character describes him as like a Platinum 3 or something donor, so he has complete clearance. He has access.
Total access.
Total access. Oh, it makes me sick. It really does. And then how at the end of the post-credit scene, all the people saved in the cryo sleep thing, they're not people. It's the names of the people aren't on the little like tubey things. They're
executives.
Corporations. Oh my god. Oh.
All right. Since we jumped ahead to that, did you notice that they were all old?
I did notice that. I was like, that's weird. Okay, can I
They're all 50 plus.
This is so real. Ugh. I'm reading this book right now called The Case Against Sugar by Gary Taubman. And everyone needs to read this book, if only to understand this very concept, like, for instance, about the sugar industry. The sugar industry is very powerful. Here's my point. My point is, the sugar industry is very powerful, and it wants people to accept sugar as not harmful. And it supports research to finding this very thing. And so one of the people that were like the main guy, one of the main scientists that told everybody that the reason we're obese and unhealthy is because of fats. That guy was paid by the sugar industry. His name was Ansel Keys. Okay? So, and let's just say that's example of what happens. Everybody go read the book. Don't take my word for it. Do research. There's also a documentary called Fat. I think it's called, quote, Fat, a documentary, end quote. It terrifies me that how can we possibly know what's true now? Like, we're learning about the sugar industry thing, and that happened 50 years ago. So what good does it do us now? Now, what's happening? And that's the part that scares me about the global warming, and that's the part that scares me about COVID, and that's the part that scares me about any issue that the government has its sticky fingers in, is what is the truth? Who's behind it? You know? Like, and I'm 100% behind saving planet Earth. But how do we know what's true and what's fear-mongering and what's money? Like, really? It makes me want to put myself in a rubber room.
Almost lost my cool there.
Okay, back to Mark Rylance and Peter Isherwell. In the movie, there's this scene where it's launch day, and
what is launch day?
It's when they're launching these little robots, to go up and break up the asteroid. But it's just this one scene where it shows, oh my god, it shows Peter Isherwell's character saying something, telling Madam President, come, and she just jumps out of her seat like he's the top crap, whatever. And it's just like, oh, he's got so much power. Not to mention, he calls himself Kronos, and the little robots, like Proteus, or Primus, he compares himself to God. Also, he knows when people die. He is God. He is God. And he's comparing himself. He sees himself as God, and everybody else sees him as God. That's my point. It makes me want to throw up. Continue.
All right. So you merged two scenes, okay? There's launch day when they launch the little robots, but then there's launch day when they launch Ron Perlman's character, who's the crazy...
The cowboy.
Semi-racist. Yeah. But when they're going to launch him into space on a retired space shuttle that they've cobbled together and made it so it works with the nuclear missiles to divert the comet to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's excited. This is good. This is going to be great. And this is the part where I suddenly start losing sleep, because we've gone from an adventure movie of we're going to save the world, and this is the moment where it all breaks.
But you knew it wasn't. But
because
it didn't feel like it. It was wrong.
There was an inkling of hope I always had. All right? Even if we launched a horrible anti-hero into space in the movie to try and save the
it was
anyway.
Too much of a parody. It was too much of a parody. You knew right away. It was
I know, but I had an inkling of hope, and this is the moment that hope just went goodbye, okay?
Yeah.
They launch, everything is great, we're gonna save the world, and then Mark Rylance's character, Peter Isherwell, walks into the Situation Room. And he's got his head down, and he's on his phone, texting away. And that's the moment that you were talking about where it was, he says jump, and the president, how high?
Yeah.
Because and again, that's also the moment where Jonah Hill's like, yeah, he's a platinum level National Eagle, whatever donor. Yeah. He has full access. Because in the middle of this launch, it all gets canceled.
Yeah.
Everything's recalled. All the nuclear missiles are aborted. The space shuttle is told to come back. Because it's found out that this comet has all of these valuable minerals that we can mine. And it would make our company richer by the trillions to have access to them, breaking the monopoly of China on rare earth elements.
Yeah.
All we have to do is gamble that we can do it.
Yeah.
And instead of having something that is, put together by NASA and the best scientists, and okay, yeah, fine, it's parody and all that, we're going to cobble together this newfangled technology stuff, and it should maybe work, but don't talk to the scientists.
Yeah.
That's the moment I lose sleep, because that's the moment they kill hope. That's the moment that the full deck is laid out of what we are now doing is showing how the system works. Or at least their parody of how the system works. Because, Peter Isherwell from BASH has all the influence, has all the say, and for money, all of the governments of the world bow down. For money, the lives of the people are gambled.
Sacrificed. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is what it ends up. Sacrificed.
Yep.
And that's the moment that in the movie, that's where I lose sleep. Because to me, I look at that and I go, that really feels plausible. Not the huge caricature of it, but that influence, that power, that, well, what's going to make us money?
But we see that happening. Yes, it's plausible because it happens over and over and over and over again. Like the whole history of Tesla. I mean, not Tesla, but the electric car. The electric car has been here for a long time. But these car companies, from what I understand, these car companies buy the electric car companies or the patents for things, and it gets squished. I have zero faith. Zero faith. How can this not happen? Power is money. Money is power. Right. Money is power. How can this not happen? There's no way it can't.
And that money is power. What did that end up as in the movie? How did that end in the movie?
They get to escape Earth? I don't know, Professor.
The world ends. The hope dies. The money, the gamble, it doesn't go well.
But it doesn't for them. It's kind of implied they all die at the very, very, very end.
But it does. It does.
But it doesn't. It's all... It escapes.
Yes, it does. All right, hang on. Because you cut me off on this one. I didn't get to finish the thought, and I insulted half of our audience over 50, calling them old.
Oh.
That's okay. I pointed out that in that end scene, they were all old, over 50-ish.
Yeah. So they can't procreate.
There it is. You send an arc out into space of all the CEOs who are over 50 and can't procreate.
Yeah.
So humanity is dead anyway. Even the ark that is that last salvation of humanity in that scene doesn't matter.
Right.
It's a joke.
Interesting.
Because all it is we've saved ourselves. We have the money, we've saved ourselves. We have the money, we've saved ourselves. Nothing about it, any other aspect of community, nothing about any aspect of family, of... Because even Meryl Streep's character, do you remember when she realizes where her son is?
Yeah, on the plane, getting out of there, going to the Ark, she's like, oh crap. Because she realizes...
I forgot him.
She left him behind. And as much of a dink as he was the whole movie... Oh, I felt so bad for him waiting there. He just waited. He just waited in that empty room for his mom to come.
I felt bad for him. But did you see his end scene?
Yeah.
He crawls out of the rubble. Hey, look, I'm the only one left. Takes a selfie. Yo, I'm it. Last man standing.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't put that in the movie. Because that just seemed...
Yeah, they did.
Oh. I saw it on YouTube.
That was an end credit.
I saw it on YouTube. I shut it off after Meryl got eaten.
Yes. Which was hilarious, okay? It felt a little bit... It gave you a little bit of indication.
Yeah. But I think what it did with Jonah Hill's doing the selfie is, first off, you're even more of an idiot than we thought. And second off, it shows you the pointlessness. The pointlessness? Is that a word? The absurdity of what he's doing. It's absurd and vapid and disgusting. Like, you are the only person left.
But that's the moral of this whole story. And it's at that point, okay? You know, the Bash CEO comes in, and this is where things begin to split, okay? When he comes in and stops the mission to save the Earth because there are minerals he wants to mine, right?
Yeah.
This is the moment that the movie truly splits. And we've been running a farce up until that point, and there's the over character, or whatever, the over... I don't know what word it is.
Exaggerated.
I want to use there.
Yes, overdone.
Yeah, the overdone side of the politicians and this background thing of, you know, Meryl Streep's president character sleeping with this entirely unqualified justice or Supreme Court judge that she wants to appoint. And so there's all of that goofiness. But when that moment comes in, everything splits. And now we have two very clear camps. And you have Jennifer Lawrence, who is just, she's the one who's the prophet in the wilderness saying, we're going to die.
Yeah.
If we don't change, we're going to die. Nobody listens. You have Leonardo DiCaprio's character, who I really do love the story arc they give him, because at this point, he's been awkward. Okay? Awkward. He's got an awkward family. He's got an awkward existence. He hasn't made peace with himself, but now he's got this shot at being in the limelight, and he becomes famous.
Yeah.
And he goes from being awkward to this...
quasi-superstar.
Yeah. He's doing the morning show routines. He's the spokesperson for how great this system will be and how it will actually save the Earth and bring jobs and bring money.
And sleeping with the beautiful girl, going to fancy dinners.
Right. And forgetting and neglecting his family. And then you have everyone else who's on that inside track, that selfish track. The politicians, the CEOs, and the ones who are going to reap the most benefit and reward from if this works, or have the safety net of that arc. And it's those storylines with Leonardo DiCaprio's being the one in the middle that's being pulled by both sides. And it's that part that I lost sleep over it, because it's that caricature of the worst of things. But how they walked him through, how he was in that quasi-famous lifestyle, and then at the end I really was beautiful.
Yeah.
I hated it, but it was beautiful in that it was him and his family and Jennifer Lawrence's character and her finding love, all of them sitting around the table.
Yeah.
Together as a family, having dinner.
Yeah.
The realest thing in that movie was that moment. And it was the harsh, honest truth, because again, the people paying the cost for everything else aren't going to be those who are rich. It's going to be the everyday people.
Talking about apple pie and...
Yeah, store-bought or homemade.
Yeah. I that scene was so good.
It was hard, but that was the best way to end that movie.
The acting in that scene was phenomenal. Just everybody staying at the table, talking and you can hear the stress in their voice, but they're talking about apple pie. And that scene.
The slight rumble of the house, the background booms that start happening, and then nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a hard scene. But I will say this is also the area that I think they did well in directing and developing this movie. Who directed this movie?
Adam McKay.
Oh, I see that.
He used to do SNL. And he did the Anchorman and Step Brother and stuff.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I think the part that helps is that they broke things up. And it is a dark comedy. No matter what they do about it, it is a dark comedy. Is that they broke things up and they provided those moments of, yes, deep reflection, but a bit of saving grace in it.
Yeah, it did. You're right.
Right. And so you have that scene that is the dinner table that is somber, but at the same time genuine. It's not the first, but it's that genuine moment that you latch onto. And as that scene comes to an end, the credits roll and they kind of zoom out into space and they do the little bits of goofiness as you see the ark flying away from, as you see the aftermath of the worst of it, and then they finish it with that post-credit. There are 2 post-credit scenes, but the post-credit scene that is that ark 20,000 years later landing on an unknown planet, the richest of the world getting off, who are all old and can't save the Earth.
And buck naked.
Or can't save humanity. Yeah. They cannot save humanity. Can you sit with that?
Right.
The underlying moral tale is that they can't even save humanity when they save humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick.
But then that little bit of vindication because Meryl Streep's character gets eaten by this colorful bird.
Yep.
And you see her walking towards this thing as everyone is naked with a tramp stamp. And it just goes, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, again, that tramp stamp was just that final flourish of, okay, that makes sense. This is the worst caricatures of who we are.
None of them are ready. None of them... First off, okay, interestingly, they're all naked, and they're all overweight and flabby and old and unprepared for what they're really thinking they're gonna do. Are you really gonna pioneer civilization? Do you realize? Or did you just think... We're going to escape. That's all you thought about is we're going to escape. That's it. You didn't think about the future. Hello.
All right, so the connection I drew in my head to that moment is that scene is the anti-Garden of Eden.
Yeah. Yeah, them being naked, that's what comes to mind is Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden.
Well, not just that, but I mean, they create this colorful garden-esque space that looks beautiful. It's paradise-like. But now you have the worst of the human condition right there. And their skin tones against this... Yeah, you have their skin tones against these beautiful, bright colors. And it's just... Ugh. And they're all old and flabby and naked, and it's just... Ugh. And then you're happy the Garden of Eden starts destroying them.
Holy crap.
Or assumed.
I think it's interesting because having them stripped of their clothes, you see... I mean, what movies are characters naked in that asexual of a way? Prison movies, Holocaust movies, movies where this is indignant. I'm not indignant. There is no dignity. We can't see their status. We don't know who they are or what their rank is.
But did they walk around that way? They didn't walk around that way. They were, because if you look at their demeanors in that end scene, they didn't walk around like they had been beaten or broken.
No, and that's the point. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like the emperor has no clothes. You know that story? Like,
right.
You guys,
yes.
You're fools. You are fools.
And I think that is kind of that balance where you've had that somber moment, but now the balance is the fools are about to be proven entirely foolish in a way that they cannot escape.
Yeah.
Because, Meryl Streep's character gets eaten by those birds, and then those birds start circling around everyone.
Yeah. Don't pet them.
It is a really good movie. It is hard to watch. I saw some of our social media interactions. Some people
didn't even finish it.
Have enjoyed it. Some people didn't finish it. Some people love it. Some people don't. Because it really is. It's a hard, dark comedy. And the director is looking at it and applying global warming, but I think there's a lot more to be said. We didn't even get into the whole Don't Look Up campaign that they run in that movie.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a ton there.
Yeah. There's a ton there about how, what we swallow as the political pills.
And what we believe to be true is so farcical.
And again, both sides.
What a circus.
And I think that's why, it is why that movie is so hard.
I hope people listen. I hope politicians and filmmakers and I hope people listen and get it. What's being said? What are we saying? Oh my gosh, and then there's the whole thing about, hold on, I wrote it down because it was so good. It's something that Peter says to Dr. Mindy. He says, you are a lifestyle idealist. You think you're motivated by beliefs, high ethical beliefs, but you just run towards pleasure and away from pain like a field mouse. And that's a theme that comes up a couple times with his program that he talks about, where whenever he feels sad, his phone knows exactly what he needs and will send him a cute little picture to make him feel better so he doesn't have to feel sad. And it'll give you a list of therapists in your area so you never have to feel sad again. And that is, in our busy, busy society, how often do we just sit with our thoughts? How often do we sit in quiet and solitude and consider things, hurts? We're always, I had a crappy day at work, or I just had an upsetting conversation with my brother, sister. Take out your phone, look at Instagram, and anesthetize.
No, and that's exactly it. we find ways that are escapists to lean into, and anything can be an escapism, not just the phone.
Work, being busy.
Reading, television, entertainment, Facebook, phones, games. Yeah. Podcasting. Although I don't think we're trying to be escapist with it. I think we're trying to lean into, well, life. What it is to go through it. But it's fair to even ask that question of ourselves. Yeah. I hope this episode provides a moment of reflection. I hope that this movie provides a moment of reflection. I do think this is the value of comedy, is it allows us to look at the harder parts of where we're at and maybe ask questions that are not comfortable.
Because this movie wouldn't have been bearable if it wasn't a comedy.
Yeah. It would have been depressing. It would have flopped. It would... Yeah. And it's already depressing with the
comedy.
The comedy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we should do an episode where we actually talk about the means of dark comedy and how that allows us to laugh at ourselves. That might be a good episode down the road.
Comedy holds a mirror up to society in a way that's palatable.
Yes.
Anyway.
Which is... I love Jeff Dunham. On that note.
Yeah.
I find him to be incredible. For that very reason. Alright.
Been good.
It's been something. I gotta go write a sermon. I'm preaching tomorrow.
Good luck.
So, I'm going to go have a cigar and some very deep introspective moments and put things on paper.
Alright. Good luck with that, and have a good one. See you next time. Hear ya.
Yep. We see each other. We do this through video.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, have a good week, and thank you everyone for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the 42 podcast. Please take a moment to like and subscribe, and if you want to join in on the conversation, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter to add your voice to the conversation. Thank you.